Hi Virgo, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your January 2022 tarot reading. I hope you guys are having a good holiday season and I hope you have an awesome new year. And for those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have for us, we have a Celtic Coral spread as always, and also pulled some Oracle cards, a Mudra card for you guys, and we're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus will be as far as that goes. So we'll do that now. Okay, so we have Pluto, and Pluto is actually in Capricorn, which is your fifth house, and the Venus retrograde that we're just about to start at the time of recording this is actually going to start off right with Pluto. We have Aquarius, so that's your sixth house of health, work, daily routines, and you guys are the natural rulers of the sixth house, so there's that connection there. And of course, toward the end of January, we're going to have the Sun in Aquarius, and we're actually going to have a Mercury retrograde that starts in Aquarius toward the very end of January also. And speaking of Mercury, we have the third house. So for you guys, that's actually Scorpio, and third house is generally speaking communication, short journeys, even siblings. So we'll keep those in mind as we go through the main spread. And starting with that, we have my inability to pick up cards. But also, we have, in the main situation position, the Six of Cups. So this is actually Scorpio energy here. So already we see that third house communication. So for some of you, this could just represent you guys reconnecting with someone you hadn't spoken to in a long time. Could be a family member, romantic connection from the past, friendship, you name it. Could be almost any area. But yeah, looks like there's definitely that opportunity to reconnect with someone. Might even be someone that you might have worked with on a creative project in the past too. And you could just be revisiting that idea. Maybe you guys might have parted ways for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, it looks like there is that potential for reconnection this month. All right. And in the challenge or obstacle position, we have the Ace of Wands. So, to me, this is just speaking to the fact that that's an opportunity that's at play for you guys this month, but of course it would still require action on your part. So, wherever we want to look at the fact that we're going to have the Venus retrograde, like we mentioned, in your fifth house, it could certainly be an old romantic partner that maybe things didn't progress as far as you would have liked, but maybe you might have left on decent terms, so you might revisit that. Or, like I said, could just be a friendship as well. But yeah, looks like there would have to be action taken on your part. So for the majority of you, you'd probably have to be the one to initiate that connection. All right, in the foundation position, we have the Seven of Wands, which is Leo energy, and the Queen of Swords, Libra energy. So, interesting messages there. Could just be saying that you might have had a very overactive mind, given that for you guys, Leo energy is your 12th house. And this could even be just around how best to invest your finances, for example, given that this represents your second house. So it could have just been one of those things there where there might have been a lot of back and forth. Maybe you had a lot of different options at play, and you were just trying to get them organized and go with the best option. And of course, this could obviously point to relationships as well, since Libra represents the natural rulership of that house. But yeah, for the majority of you, I feel like this is going to be more of a finance thing. Yeah, it could just be saying that you might have had a lot of ideas, a lot of paths that you wanted to take, and there could have been a bit of a struggle as far as narrowing them down in a way that was organized and actually just beneficial for your finances. All right, in the past position, we have the Two of Pentacles reversed. So this is Capricorn energy here, and could just be saying that maybe you had a couple of options at play in the past and you might have actually been able to make that decision. And interestingly enough, given that this is Capricorn energy, we already mentioned the Venus retrograde, obviously, and then toward the end of January, that Mercury retrograde is going to progress from Aquarius back into Capricorn. So whatever this decision you may have made in the past, you might be revisiting that now. Whether you felt like you made the wrong decision, or maybe you might have dropped one option when you realized that maybe you could have handled both. Again, it could be finance, creative projects, you name it, but that's what I'm seeing with that. All right, present position, wherever we have the Strength card. So this is the major arcana card for Leo, and again, we're seeing that Leo energy, and I mentioned how for you guys that is your 12th house. So I feel like for some of you, this could be a realization that maybe you have been overactive mentally, right, around certain things. Now, 12th house can point to self sabotage and just blind spots in general. So I feel like you might have an awareness of this if there is some area where you've been getting in your own way. I feel like this is saying you're coming to that awareness around that and you're trying to tame that part of yourselves. So, like I said, let's say you might have had a really scattered financial situation because you were trying to take on too many things at once. Just a super generic example there. And you might come to that realization, okay, maybe I need to pare things down, right? Be a bit more focused and streamlined with how I move forward. So that could be what you're coming around to now. I will say for some of you, if this is around the one-to-one connection, this could represent your desire to reach back out, but for whatever reason, you could just be holding yourselves back from doing so. And of course, since Leo's the natural ruler of the fifth house and you have all of that energy in your fifth house of Capricorn that we already spoke about, that could be what's bringing this energy to the surface in that way too. All right, so near future position, we have the Knight of Wands, Sagittarius energy, Ten of Wands, also Sag energy, and the Queen of Pentacles, Capricorn energy. So this could just be saying that you might be action oriented now, or you will be soon, especially as we wrap up Sagittarius season. But this could just be pointing to the fact that we're going to have that Mars transit through Sagittarius pretty much through, thinking the first few weeks of January. So, for a January reading, this is going to represent that for most of you. With that Ten of Wands, or whatever, this could be you guys actually trying to wrap something up. Possibly around your home environment, given that for you guys, Sagittarius is your fourth house, and turning it into something tangible. So for some of you, this could even just be concepts, right? Things that you might have learned from your early upbringing, maybe even reconnecting with something that you used to do in the past, given that we see that Six of Cups there. So this could even, for some of you, represent maybe something you were passionate about as a child. You might actually be reconnecting with that in the near future and actually figuring out a way to turn that into something that would be more tangible, right? So super generic example, right? Maybe some of you watching this video, you might decide that maybe you used to love to do tarot readings when you were younger, and now you might be deciding, hey, you could actually pick this up again and possibly turn it into a source of income, right? So super generic example. It was the first one that came to mind given what we're doing here. So yeah, it's one way that energy could be playing out. And for others of you, given that we do see that Ten of Wands, which to me sometimes can represent a bit of a burden, this could even represent that maybe you're looking at some things, especially that given that the South Node's wrapping up its transit through Sagittarius, could even just be saying that you might be looking at some things from your early upbringing that might have been restrictive toward you and actually turning those into something more tangible and powerful too. So a super generic example of that, right? Which is to say, even if you felt like your parents might have had some shortcomings when it came to raising you, you might even be turning that to a situation where you say, all right, well, I'm going to learn from that as far as that's not how I want to be, right? So certain mistakes you might have seen them make, now that you're older and you're able to put them all in context, you might actually be able to learn from that and say, okay, I'm not going to repeat those same mistakes that they made. All right. In the position of your influence on the situation, we have the King of Wands in reverse. So yeah, more Leo energy here. Seeing this in reverse, I feel like this is saying that those more of the self-sabotage energies of your 12th house might be at the forefront this month. And the good thing is, if that's the case, seeing the Strength card in the present, for a lot of you, I feel like you're actually going to get a hold of that. And that could be, again, connected to situations from your early upbringing, and you're actually realizing that and transmuting that into something more positive. So for a lot of you, I feel like there is that awareness on your part that, maybe you might see these things coming to the surface that, okay, you know what, I see the ways that I am getting in my way, right? That would be the more positive way to interpret this. For some of you, there might still be that lack of awareness of that. So just check in with yourselves, see if maybe you have some ego situations that might be getting in your way. Again, like I said, with the transits going through your fifth house too, that could be a good time to look at those things. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. All right. In the environment position, we have a few cards that came up. We have the Five of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy, the Emperor, which is the major arcana card for Aries, Ace of Pentacles, and Four of Cups, Cancer energy. So, alright, so this could represent your energy, for one, right? And this could just be, if that's the case, you might be stubbornly holding on to something that's causing a loss at this point. So, the reason why I say that is we were looking at these, the Seven of Wands and the Queen of Swords, talking about maybe you're having some difficulty around organizing your finances, right? And then seeing these pentacles here. With that Emperor, to me, that could represent a bit of stubbornness. So let's say, for you guys, Aries is your 8th house. So let's say this is some kind of investment that you've made, right? And it could just be tanking pretty bad, and you're just like, okay, but you're stubbornly holding on to it, right? And there might even be other opportunities at play for you guys to invest, but you might just be declining them, but partially, especially given all the Leo energy I've seen there, a bit of an ego thing, right? Like, no, kind of refusing to accept that maybe it wasn't the best investment, right? That's just a super generic example of how it could be playing out. And when we say investment, that could mean your time, your energy. Yes, it could mean physical resources as well, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing there. For some of you, this can represent someone else too. And if that's the case, it looks like they're pretty dug in, right? So this could be one of those situations. And if that's the case, if this represents another person, for some of you, that King of Wands in reverse might represent you guys kind of bowing out, right? Not like admitting defeat necessarily, but just realizing that this person's just not going to cooperate, right? And be like, all right, I'm going to conserve my energy here, right? That could be what the Strength card and the Seven of Wands is pointing to in that regard. Like, you know what? I value my peace above all else. I'm just going to pull away from this, right? And just let this person refuse accepting things, even if they are beneficial, right? So that's another way I could see that playing out too. For some of you, this could be around a friendship as well, given that Cancer energy for you guys is your 11th house of friends. So, super generic example, let's say this is a friendship. You try to get back off the ground with that Six of Cups, right? You put your best foot forward, and for whatever reason, this person just seems to refuse to want to move things forward with you. So, it could just be as simple as that. But hopefully one of those interpretations resonated with you. All right. In the hopes or fears position, we have the Queen of Wands. So, again, I'm getting a bit of a feeling of investment here, right? And with that Black Cat, I feel like this is saying that maybe you guys are hoping that you really can trust yourselves. So, maybe you might have felt like your instincts might have failed you, and your intuition might have failed you in the past, but now you're just hoping to actually have that more clear line of sight around how best to go about investing things. And like I said, yes, given the Pentacles, it can be physical for some of you, but again, it could just be time, energy, emotions as well. Let's see if anything else comes to mind with this. That's pretty much all I'm getting there. All right, and in the outcome position, we have the Nine of Wands, so more Sag energy there, the Magician, and the Page of Wands. So yeah, the main thing that I'm getting with this is lightening your load, right? So interestingly enough, we see the Knight of Wands there, which has a lot of freedom of movement, immediately followed by that Ten of Wands, which is almost the opposite of freedom of movement, right? You can't really necessarily see where he's going. It doesn't like that's the most comfortable way to be carrying those wands, but he's still doing it. But I didn't necessarily get a feeling of restriction there. More of it was more of a focused move on your part. Like, okay, I'm going to put in this work, right, for the rewards that'll be down the line, which would be that Queen of Pentacles we saw after that. Now, seeing this energy here, a similar thing with that Nine of Wands, the Magician, and then the Page of Wands, again pointing to a bit of a freedom of movement energy. Even the backgrounds are somewhat similar. For some of you, this could just be saying that maybe you've grown tired of that, right? So maybe you've been possibly losing a little bit of faith that that you were gonna come out on the other side of that, right? Maybe you've been working tirelessly towards something and feeling like, okay, is this really gonna, end out the way that I'm hoping, right? So for some of you, that King of Wands in that regard in reverse could represent a loss of confidence in a situation. But with the Magician card here, I feel like this is saying you will be able to actually push through put those things behind you, and then feel a lot more lighter, ready to move, a lot more free and unrestricted. So it does look like it will work out positively for you guys. It certainly looks like there could be some bumps in the road for sure, but yeah, overall, it looks like you can actually turn things around. So if you guys are feeling like you might be losing a little bit of faith in something, looks like it's saying just to keep that faith, then you might see that road clear up for you guys sooner rather than later. And speaking of which, at the bottom of the deck, we have 10 of Cups. So this is Pisces energy here, which does represent your 7th house. So yes, this could be around romantic connections, but could be partnerships in general, right? So like I said, if this was someone you're trying to collaborate with that maybe you've worked with in the past, it looks like you can get that turned around. And interestingly enough, beneath that we have the Justice card. So major arcana card for Libra there. So yeah, if this is finances, you could definitely see improvement there. Again, like I mentioned with the Queen of Swords, given that they're the natural ruler of relationships too, you could also see relationships improve for you guys this month. So hopefully that resonated. And moving on to the Oracle cards, we have Be Impeccable with Your Word and Cultivate Faith. All right, and let's see what it says. Okay, it says, to have great faith is to have great power, because your intent, your will, is undivided. When your word isn't dissipated by doubt, the power of your word becomes even stronger. So, reading this actually, this makes me, well, first of all, we were talking about that you guys might be losing faith around the situation, so there's that. But this brings me back to, I think it was a few months ago now, where you guys had a reading. I think I made the title of it, When You Believe It. And we talked about how, normally it's I'll believe it when I see it, right? But I was saying that for you guys, it looks like you're being pushed to take more of the opposite stance of I'll see it when I believe it, which again ties into faith, right? So for some of you, could still be going through that situation. So if that's the case, hopefully this resonated with you. All right. Next we have Round and Round. There's the artwork, and the number is 25. So we'll see what this has to say. So yeah, seeing that round and round, and then the 10 of Wands and what we were talking about with the South Node transit wrapping up through Sagittarius. For some of you, this could definitely be something that you've been revisiting. The 6 of Cups could point to that too, even in a more positive manner. But let's see what it says. Okay. It says, the spiral quality of events when a lesson isn't quite integrated, cycles you are challenged to break, revisiting a pattern from a new perspective. The Oracle's message. The appearance of this card is a reminder that although it may appear that you've gone backward, the truth is that you're standing at a higher level, looking down into your circumstances. You will learn something, do something better, and break a cycle set up in the past. You actually have a bird's eye view of your initial footprints and can access the wisdom and lessons learned. So yeah, definitely a pretty positive message there. And the relationship message says, are you wondering, how did I get here again? Does something feel familiar right now in your dynamics with others? Maybe a little too familiar? Don't be surprised that you found yourself repeating an old story with the same sort of person who may not look similar, but who attracted you because of your easy acquaintance with his or her qualities. Your relationship is a mix of what is good and what is potentially challenging. You have been drawn to this person through the perfection of Spirit's plan for your evolution. You may have circled back to an accustomed spot, a familiar place, but that's fine, as you get to do things again, only differently this time, for you learned something of great value since the last time around. How will you choose to behave now that you're aware? Remain curious and stay out of the blame game. So, that's a pretty good general message to have, given that your Venus retrograde will be in your 5th house, and then, like we said, the Mercury retrograde is also going to dip into your 5th house too. So hopefully that resonated with you. All right, the prosperity message says, if you're in a scenario that appears to be an echo of something that's already happened in the past in your work life, it's because you're being invited to see what you couldn't see before. This is a perfect time for you to look at the deeper motives you have and your attraction to the opportunities and people who have entered your life to be part of your journey to prosperity. Who helps you navigate? Who sabotages you? Who supports you? What are the familiar signs and your responses to them when you find yourself in a repeat of a pattern of the past? It's a good time to get a coach or mentor who can help you see what you can't on your own. Repeat what works, not what doesn't. Then you will free yourself from the old cycles and cease going round and round. So interesting there, especially when it mentioned the mentor part, because seeing that Emperor card in the environment position, I didn't necessarily get the nicest energy from them, you know what I mean, given that all of the cards around him. But for some of you may have even made an attempt to reach out to a mentor of sorts, and that might not have gone too well. But yeah, if that's the case, it could just be saying you might have to be a little bit patient with them too. So it might be a little bit of like a tough love thing on their part, you know. So you might have to. So that could be what it is. For example, if this is like more of a mentor role, they might be a bit. Well, the word that came to mind was dismissive, but that's not necessarily exactly the energy I'm feeling. To where that is truly dismissive, but more one of those things where they might kind of push you in that way, you know, like, nope, that's not good enough, that's not good enough, and to kind of nudge you to keep coming back and improving. So, something to keep in mind there that might not resonate with a lot of you, but just popped in my head, so I wanted to say it. All right, and lastly, you have a mudra. So, here's your mudra here, and this is the Phupphusamocana mudra. The keyword for it is ventilation. And there's a lot of info on this card, so what I'll do is first we need it to focus. There we go. So I'll hold it here for a bit if you want to pause it to take a screenshot of what it has to say, and I'll move it up so we can get the rest in the frame. Okay, so yeah, under benefits, it says clears the airways, opens the chest, and improves the elasticity of the ribcage, facilitating ease of breathing, strengthens the immune system, specifically reducing susceptibility to lung-related complaints, helps the process of grief and sadness, helps lift the heaviness of depression. So if that sounds like a mudra you think will be beneficial for you guys, I will put the name in the description of the video as always. Once again, hope you guys are having a good holiday season and an awesome new year, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.